Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I've got my dad flying with me today. Today, I'm nice.
And I'm nicer.
But we're both equal because
we both have window seats.
And that's what matters. So I'm seated in the nice cabin aboard a Breeze A220 way in the back, and you are?
I'm in row number 4, way up front. It's right after the nicest seats, but they're huge seats with great leg room, better than the regular nice.
But that doesn't matter. What matters is
the window.
Absolutely. So he's going to be filming his flight from a particular perspective in front of the wing, and my perspective is behind the wing. I have less leg room, but I really don't care because I'm just happy that I have a big window on this Airbus A220. It's so exciting. That's right, everybody. We're flying down to Vero Beach, Florida, and you're coming along with us tonight. All right, everybody. I've been on this flight before, and it's been delayed before, and tonight
it's delayed again.
It's delayed. We have a 10 o'clock departure. Scheduled departure time was 7:40? 7:40 p.m. There were a lot of ground delay programs today. This is the last flight of the day. The flight's been going back and forth between Vero Beach and the New York City area. It was in Stewart Airport, SWF, earlier today, where it spent a couple of hours on the ground, actually.
Yeah,
2.5 hours on the ground, and that caused kind of a ripple effect. So we're just waiting for this plane to come in from Vero Beach to take it back down there. We're not going to land until around, what did they say?
Midnight, a little after midnight. We're landing
I think it's
tomorrow.
later now. I think it's 1 a.m.
It said 1 a.m. We're landing tomorrow, actually.
We're actually landing tomorrow. Nonetheless, we're not going to let that bother us because we're just so happy to be...
we're going to have a great time, even though we're delayed about 12 days.
We're happy to be aboard an airplane. We all know that. Okay, and a little bit more about our seat selection. We are actually both on the left-hand side of the plane. Now, we thought about this, putting one person on the left-hand side and one person on the right-hand side. However, with radar vectors to the white intersection, the view is always really good on the left-hand side because that's where Manhattan generally is, that's where all of New York City is, so we're both going to be on the left-hand side of the airplane. Believe me, we thought this out very, very seriously.
Yes.
We're like, what do we do? What do we do?
We did a lot of research into this.
We kind of want to provide a view for both sides of the airplane, but we just felt for the experience, for ourselves, and for you too, the left side is going to be better. However, the weather is not looking very good today. I mean, it's overcast skies. There's a light drizzle here at HPN, so there may not be much of a view at all. In any case, I will be providing ATC, so you will see how the aircraft is vectored around the New York City area.
And if the worst comes to worst, you can look at the previous videos and see what New York looks like at this.
There you go.
On the left side.
There's plenty of videos to go back to on this channel. Yeah. All right, gate 3 is going to be our departure gate tonight here at the Westchester County Airport. So excited to be flying again on flight 914, which is also the area code to Westchester County. All right, everybody, I am so excited about our departure. Of course, now we'll be taking off tonight on runway 16, which means that after departure, we're making a right-hand turn to 320 degrees. After we make that turn, I'm hoping for a good radar vector from New York Departure Control to fly probably a little bit west of Manhattan to get some great Manhattan views, but who knows what's going to happen. It constantly changes. And again, with the weather this evening, the low altitude clouds, hopefully there'll be some gaps in the clouds where I'll be able to actually see something, but it is what it is. Now, if you check out one of my previous departure videos of flight 914, when we departed, there was actually a flight leaving Newark Airport heading over to the northeast to Europe, and we actually received altitude restrictions because that aircraft was transitioning our airspace. Now, with our late departure time, I don't know how many departures there are going to be out of Newark heading over to the northeast to Europe, but we'll just have to wait and see. Again, I do apologize in advance if I'm not able to provide a really, really good view. You'll just have to go back and look at some of the other videos, but you know how often I fly. All these things do happen. Okay, my plane is getting ready to land, but where the windows are, it's super, super crowded. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it landing tonight. All the flights here are delayed. Normally at this time at night, there are a lot less people in the terminal, but it's just not a very good weather day here in New York. By the way, if you're at Westchester County Airport and you sit in the main holding room and think that there are a lot of people there, just find the gate area where there are no people. I just discovered this gate area here by gate number 1. There's not a single person here. Much nicer than the main holding area or even the area where my flight is going to be departing from at gate 3 this evening. I found this great area where I can watch Moxie 915, the inbound flight, land. And here it comes, rolling down runway 16. We'll take off this way too. Here's the A220 on its way to gate 3. I found every single opportunity I could to watch this plane pull in. The opportunities are not the greatest here. By the way, before I went through TSA, I did go to the observation deck, but it was kind of crowded, so I didn't spend too much time up there. I always like to be in the gate area while my plane arrives in case of a quick turn. To get this footage, I'm angled in an awkward position so that there's the least amount of reflection on the window. I'm sure it's a lot easier during the day, but at night it's a struggle. At least on the observation deck upstairs, there's minimal light, just like the inside of a control tower, so you can see out easily. No one booked on this plane is looking out for it. Well, actually, that's not true. There was one more person doing what I was doing. It's time for a message from the sponsor of today's video, Extra. Extra wallets come in a variety of shapes and sizes and colors. This one actually glows in the dark. With durable wallets and card holders, the value derived from Extra is unmatched. I always carry an Extra wallet with me, and I know I'll never lose it because I can add an AirTag to it. Check out their site. They have lots of awesome products. And as a viewer of this channel, if you enter code MASELA at checkout, you'll save. Visit the link in the description below. Oh, and from December 26th to January 24th, Extra is having a New Year's sale with up to 40% off. Wouldn't an Extra wallet or accessory make a great gift? Don't forget to use code MASELA on top of the holiday savings. The plane has made it to the gate. Everyone's hoping for a quick turn because it's already 2 hours late. This A220-300 with a tail number of November 215 Bravo Zulu was delivered to Breeze in September of 22. It's got two Pratt & Whitney 1524 G3 engines. Almost all of the 137 passenger seats are full this evening. Well, that was very rewarding to be able to see the aircraft because I'm telling you, it's just not easy to see out here tonight. The reality is that these are reflective windows, so it's really, really difficult to see out. Okay, Moxie 915 is transitioning to Moxie 914 right now. There's a new crew coming on board, and we're all set to fly to Vero Beach. The gate door's open. That's always a welcome sight. Finally, we're getting on board the Breeze aircraft here. We're going to separate. He'll be in the front, I'll be in the back, but we'll be on the same airplane. What time is it now? It's almost 10 o'clock.
10 to 10.
10 to 10. Scheduled departure time, 7:40 p.m.
Check out my legroom here.
But what matters is the window. I'm headed to the back. All right, today I'm in row 27 and I've got a very well aligned window. Here's the view. That's all I need. My nice fare class includes a window. Here's my legroom. I'm really never going to look down other than to maybe grab that candy bar. So why does it matter?
Hi, Peter. How's it going?
It's going great. That's why. Here's his legroom. I know it's a lot, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be looking to the left the entire time. Yeah, he definitely has more legroom than me, but who cares?
We're in row 4 in the nicer seats, which has unlimited legroom, especially for a short person like myself. But a 6'5" guy would be very, very comfortable sitting here. This is a kind of a secret seat on the plane because if you choose the first row of nicer seats, you get the wonderful, wonderful legroom that's associated with it. So I find it really interesting. Most people don't know about it, but hope you're doing okay back there.
I hope my dad and I entertained you enough because it's not looking that great out there.
Westchester County Airport ATIS Information Tango 0256 Zulu. Wind 160 at 13, gust 23. Visibility 10. Light drizzle. Ceiling 2,700 broken.
Light drizzle and a broken ceiling of 2,700 feet surely is not ideal, especially for a flight that calls for passing right over or near New York City. Let's see what happens. It's 10:10 and we're still boarding. So what do you do while you wait? You clean the window and you find the cleanest spot to point the camera through. That's the spot.
flight 914 to Vero Beach. I'm Javier, I'll be the captain today along with Tyler up front. It is a pleasure to have you. Sorry for the delay. Had a big weather system in the East Coast today, that's why there's so many people at the terminal still. But we're here now and we're gonna fly you as fast and safe as possible down there. 2 hours and 38 minutes. We'll try to make it faster than that. She'll be arriving around 1 in the morning.
We're almost ready, but before we can go, that JetBlue plane calls ground for push clearance.
Westchester ground, good evening, JetBlue 195, gate 4, push it, Tango.
JetBlue 195 ground, pushing out for approved.
Pushing out for JetBlue 195.
We'll be doing what JetBlue is doing in a moment. This flight, which is heading to Orlando, has the same departure fix as us, White, so we can't be too close to it. Even departures from other New York area airports headed to White need to be separated from this plane. As I got upset that the passenger in front of me closed the window shade, JetBlue called ground for taxi clearance.
Westchester ground, JetBlue 195 is ready, taxi, Tango.
JetBlue 195, runway 16, taxi Alpha.
16 taxi Alpha, JetBlue 195.
Fasten your seatbelt, open your window shades, stow your tray tables and carry-on items.
It's now our turn to push.
Hello, Westchester ground, this is Moxie 914. We are at gate 3 today. We have information Tango, ready for push.
Moxie 914 ground, push approved.
Push approved, Moxie 914.
We can now push back onto the ramp because it's clear of traffic and no one is on taxiway Alpha, the taxiway that we need to come to a stop on where the tug will be removed. As you can see, there's little surface traffic at this time. Taxiway Alpha is being used in a northwest direction to bring planes to runway 16 and to bring planes from runway 16 to their parking position after landing on this side of the airport. This area can get quite jammed up. Check out my other HPN videos where you can see more traffic. If you look very carefully, you can see that JetBlue flight headed down to Orlando. It's entering the runway right now. Its initial route will be very similar to the route that we'll be on, and its destination is not too far from where we're headed. It's now rolling down the runway for takeoff.
Good evening. Welcome aboard Breeze Airways. Our flight crew today is Captain Javier and First Officer Tyler. My name is Ambika and I am assisted by Nanoshka and Michael in the main cabin today. We're excited to have you on board and look forward to serving you. Our flying time to Vero Beach is scheduled for 2 hours and 38 minutes. Please direct your attention to the flight attendant in the cabin.
We've come to a stop as the JetBlue flight to Orlando takes off on runway 16. The time right now is 10:27 p.m. We'll be in the air real soon, but at 10:27 p.m., we should be approaching Vero Beach, not just taking off. We're really late. In any case, as soon as the tug is removed and the engines are started, the pilot calls ground control for taxi instructions to runway 16.
Westchester ground, Moxie 914, the 68 is push, ready to taxi.
Moxie 914, runway 16, taxi Alpha.
16 taxi Alpha, Moxie 914.
We can now start our taxi to runway 16. I'm concerned about the view after takeoff. My ticket is for a window, and I have one, but what's beyond it concerns me with these clouds. The departure procedure for runway 16 calls for a right-hand turn to be made at 800 feet. It's practically a U-turn as it ends on a 320-degree heading. From there, we'll await radar vectors to the south toward New York City. I'll switch to the tower frequency now, where another Breeze flight, Moxie 787, checks in on the ILS approach to runway 16.
Tower Moxie 787, ILS runway 16.
Moxie 787, Westchester Tower, winds 170-15, gust 26, gains losses of 10 knots all the way down, runway 16, cleared to land.
Runway 16, clear land, Moxie 787.
Then we check in with the tower advising that we're ready.
Hello, Westchester Tower, Moxie 914 will be ready upon reaching.
The tower tells us to taxi up to and hold short of the runway.
Roger, Moxie 914, taxi up to hold short of runway 16.
Right, taxi up to hold short of 16, Moxie 914.
But realizing there's enough space to get us out before Moxie 787, we're issued takeoff clearance.
Moxie 914, winds are 170-14, gust 26, traffic company on a 4.5 mile final, runway 16, clear for takeoff.
Runway 16, clear for takeoff, Moxie 914.
We can now take off in front of the arriving Moxie flight. It's on a 4.5 mile final, so there's plenty of space for us to enter the runway and take off in front of it. It's windy out there with gusts up to 26 knots, so there may be a few bumps on the climb. Remember, we'll turn right after takeoff. Let's head on down to Vero Beach in Florida, where the weather is much nicer than here in White Plains.
914, contact New York departure 120.8.
One departure, Moxie 914, good night.
Good day.
As we turn right in the clouds, making it hard to tell we're even turning, we check in with New York Departure Control.
Departure, Moxie 914 is 2,300 for 3,000.
C914, we're to contact, climb to 7,000.
Climb 7,000, Moxie 914.
Because it's late at night and there are less flights, the controller is working combined airspace, so he's actually handling flights like LaGuardia departures as well. Here's a JetBlue flight from LaGuardia to Boston checking in on the same frequency.
Departure JetBlue 1132 2000, climb at Viva Tennis.
1132, hello, we're to contact, climb to 10,000.
So I'm wondering when I'll get our left turn toward New York City, but there really isn't too much to see out there tonight. Will the left turn put us west of Manhattan or over it? Will there be a break in the clouds in a few minutes when we get there? Here comes the next transmission from the departure controller. It's our left-hand turn to 230 degrees, and again, I'm not 100% sure exactly where we are at the exact moment.
C914, turn left heading 230.
30 heading, Moxie 914.
Okay, 230 degrees sounds okay, but it really depends on where we are. It should lead us to the Hudson River before reaching Manhattan, so it could be potentially okay for us, but first we get a new altitude to climb to.
C914, climb and maintain 12,000.
Maintain 12,000, Moxie 914.
The clearance to 12,000 feet usually comes from the second departure controller, which is for the airspace around LaGuardia, but since the airspace is combined at this late hour, we get clearance to 12,000 feet from the current controller, who will be our controller as we continue to the south. Typically, by around this point, we're handed off to the second controller, the LaGuardia sector controller, who would clear us to 12,000 feet. Why 12,000 feet? Well, that has to do with keeping us 1,000 feet below arrivals to JFK from the west, passing over New York City at 13,000 feet. Once we're past them, we can climb higher and they can descend lower. It's complex around here. Well, we're starting to come out of the clouds and I'm looking up since there isn't much to see by looking down. White plane should be down there, but those clouds. I'm focused on anything at this moment. Now, sorry about the blurriness, but keep your eyes focused on the left-hand side of the screen behind the winglet. You'll see a white dot. It's an Atlas Air 747 climbing from around 13,000 feet to 17,000 feet. This plane took off from JFK and is headed to Honolulu, Hawaii, and has made a wide left turn to the east, northeast, then northwest of New York City to avoid New York City airspace. It's headed to a northwest departure fix out of the New York City area. It's handled by JFK departure controllers, then gets handed off to New York Center. This flight presents no conflict to us at all. Down below, we should be seeing flights to or from LaGuardia. We could even see flights above us from Newark, but not today. Like my dad mentioned in the beginning of this video, there are plenty of previous videos showing air traffic, but we haven't reached New York City yet. I'm hopeful for something. The controller's about to come back to issue us a new heading.
C914, 10 degrees left.
10 degrees left, Moxie 914.
10 degrees to the left puts us on a 220 degree heading. In the past, when my flight has been assigned this heading, it wasn't very good and puts us directly over Manhattan. We'll see what happens soon, but right now it's time for a handoff to the next controller.
C914, contact 120.85, good night.
2085, Moxie 914, good night.
Okay, we'll change frequencies and check in with the next controller. Remember that this controller coming up is typically the third controller that we speak to. When we took off, we immediately spoke to the air traffic controller that was handling both Westchester and LaGuardia combined. Let's check in.
New York, Moxie 914, 10,000 for 12,000, 220 heading.
On this frequency, I was unable to capture the controller speaking. However, I did receive the response from the pilot.
Direct white, maintain 12,000, Moxie 914.
We got clearance right away to our departure fix of White, which is down in New Jersey, and we're going to keep our altitude assignment of 12,000 feet. This indicates to me that we're not yet over New York City, since we need to pass over New York City to fly under the arrivals from JFK at 13,000 feet from the west, but I'm looking out for the city. Specifically, since there are so many clouds down there, and due to the fact that the clouds aren't too thick, I'm looking for a brightness in the clouds. With all the lights of the largest city in the country, I'm certain this evening that they will be illuminating the clouds from below, and some of the light will be visible in the clouds, so pay attention to what you see down there. Slowly the clouds become more visible, rather than that sea of nearly all black. This is a sign to me that we're at the end of the less dense county of Westchester and are about to fly over the 5 boroughs of New York City. My only hope is that the clouds break and we can see some of the actual lights down there, and I'm looking as far forward as possible trying to get the camera focused. I'm going to reposition it in a moment on a very welcome sight below. Some lights from the city. Yes, there's something special coming up, and while at the moment I'm not 100% sure what it is, I know I will soon because we're about to fly over the Big Apple. Okay, we can see some city lights down there, and my first reaction is to identify what I can see. I'm so happy I can see something. I missed out on all of Westchester County, which we've been over the entire time, but this is a very dense area. There are clearly lights all over the place, and it looks like in the distance we're looking at Queens and Brooklyn, which means that we're flying basically right over the middle of Manhattan. It's not the position I want to be in since I can't see below me, but perhaps the city's buildings are covered in clouds. At the very bottom of the screen, we can see a very small portion of the South Bronx. We can see the Triborough Bridge that crosses the Harlem River connecting the Bronx to northern Manhattan. So yes, we do get to see a little bit of Manhattan on the bottom of the screen, but our nose is pointed right towards Central Park. We have a decent view of Randall's and Ward's Island, which is separated by the Harlem River, the East River, and Hell Gate, and we can see the part of the Triborough Bridge that crosses Hell Gate. That leads to the Astoria neighborhood of Queens, and looking back, we can see the terminal lights of Terminals B and C at LaGuardia Airport. I love that airport, and fly out of there very often. Check out the many videos I have of LaGuardia on this channel. So it's a pretty decent view of northwestern Queens down there, but there are some clouds. Looking straight down to the East River, we can see Roosevelt Island and the 59th Street Bridge, and that red light down there is the famous Pepsi Cola sign in Long Island City. Why pay for a nicer or even nicest seat at the front of the plane? We just saw a New York City landmark by seeing that sign. Worth the airfare. As we progress, Queens turns into Brooklyn, and the border is defined by the Newtown Creek at this point. Spanning it is the Kosciuszko Bridge, a beautiful cable-stayed bridge which was recently built and is prominent. It's very visible at night from up here as well as down there. We've got some more clouds now as we fly past Brooklyn, but you can see how intense the lights are. They're making the clouds very bright. Brooklyn is home to over 2.7 million people, and speaking of numbers, we're now past the arrival path to JFK above us at 13,000 feet, so the controller assigns us the next altitude. In the following transmission, we'll only hear the pilot's response.
17,000, Motion Air 14.
17,000 feet is the highest altitude in the TRACON's airspace. Once we leave the TRACON's airspace, we'll contact the New York Center and receive clearances to higher altitudes. That's all for air traffic control for now, but we'll resume ATC after we begin our descent to Vero Beach. That'll be tomorrow. We're still looking at Brooklyn down there, and beyond it is Queens and JFK Airport, but it's hard to make out. To the right, there's a gap in the clouds, which reveals to us southern Brooklyn. This is the part of Brooklyn between Upper New York Bay and Jamaica Bay, and includes neighborhoods such as Flatbush, Borough Park, Midwood, Bensonhurst, and more. The airspace in Brooklyn that's closest to us is often used for flights approaching LaGuardia Airport from the south at or below 4,000 feet. And where we are now, we're in airspace that many LaGuardia departures headed south use. We're well balanced between other flights from other New York airports, which are also using the white intersection, which is ahead of us. We're headed for lower New York Bay, and the last thing we'll see before we fly over the water will be Coney Island, attached to the south side of Brooklyn. Well, that was definitely an interesting departure. We definitely flew over Manhattan. The clouds were there as I expected, but I did get to see parts of Brooklyn and Queens, which was nice. We're now over New Jersey. The Jersey Shore is down there, but if you want to see it, you'll have to go back to one of my previous videos. We're up and around flight level 200 and climbing, and there's a few bumps here. I like it. Guys, I'm trying very hard to spot aircraft out there, but it's not looking very good. I didn't get to see anything up or down until Virginia. That's Norfolk down there. Just south of Norfolk, I was afforded a clear view of Suffolk, Virginia. Finally, I got to see another plane. That's an opposite direction A321 operated by Rouge, flying from Cayo Coco in Cuba to Montreal in Canada. Here's an interesting view of Greenville, North Carolina. Like New York City, the clouds are illuminated from the city lights below. The flight attendant came by with drink service, but because I finally had something to see out there, I had one word to say.
No, thank you.
I had to look at Wilmington down there, but then a nicer visitor decided to come and see me here in the nice section.
Okay, we just passed Wilmington, and I've got a visitor back here. He decided to take a seat in the last row of the airplane, which is empty, for a few moments.
How's the flight going so far, Peter?
I'm really enjoying it. The second half, a lot, but the first half, not so much. I did not like those clouds over New York City.
He needs to get back to his seat because it's getting bumpy.
We've got about an hour to go, and we're just offshore, so there's really not a lot to see on this side of the aircraft. And we're in a position where there just are not a lot of airplanes flying in the opposite direction over here.
We're getting closer to landing, and the flight attendants are about to do a walkthrough.
Now, I don't like it when the lights come on, but the good thing is that we're still pretty far out, so hopefully the lights will be off by the time we conduct our approach to the airport. Really can't see out. Not sure what's going on. The lights have been on from 30,000 feet to our current altitude of about 13,000 feet, and the flight attendants are just sitting.
They need to turn those lights off soon so I can see out.
I don't know how much we're going to see, but it's about time to check in with Palm Beach Approach Control.
Palm Beach approach, Moxie 914, 6000, direct Marino. We have the weather.
Moxie 914, Palm Beach, good evening. The Vero Beach altimeter is 29907, and verify you want the RNAV runway 12 right, correct?
Firm, Moxie 914.
Moxie 914, roger at Marino. You can join the final approach course inbound, descend and maintain 3000.
Maintain 3000, clear to join Moxie 914.
We checked in with Palm Beach Approach Control, which handles traffic in this area. We're proceeding directly to Marino. Marino is a point on the RNAV to approach. The controller is actually going to clear us for that approach now.
Moxie 914, you're about 6 miles from Marino. Cross Marino at or above 2000. Cleared for the RNAV runway 12 right approach, Vero Beach Airport.
Alright, cross Marino at or above 2000, clear for the RNAV 12 right approach, Moxie 914, thank you.
Now, Marino is not on a straight-in approach. It's actually located to the west of Sebastian, Florida, just west of Interstate 95. Once we reach Marino, we'll continue to the southwest until reaching the extended center line for runway 12 right, where we'll turn to the left to join the straight-in approach. This is a land approach, and we'll be over the land very soon. Now, before I continue, I want you to listen in to a recording from the Vero Beach Air Traffic Control Tower at the airport itself.
Vero Beach Tower, hours of operation are 0700 local time, 2100 local time. Common traffic advisory frequency is 126.3. Pilot operator runway letting is available on 126.3. For additional information, contact Palm Beach Approach on 123.62 in the air or 127.45 on the ground.
As you heard, the tower is closed since it's after 10 p.m., and there is a common traffic advisory frequency that will be self-announcing our position on once we get there. Because the tower is closed, we'll have to cancel our IFR flight plan with the Palm Beach Approach Controller. In the next transmission, the controller talks about canceling the IFR flight plan either in the air or calling from the ground, but the pilot comes back and says that he'll probably cancel while still in the air. She also mentions that there is no air traffic between our flight and the airport.
Moxie 914, no traffic between you and the Vero Beach Airport. Report IFR cancellation in the air on this frequency or on the ground via 127.45.
Alright, we'll probably cancel on the air here when we turn into final for Moxie 914.
No worries, Moxie 914, just don't forget to cancel and change to advisory frequencies approved.
We'll change to advisory, call you back in a little bit, Moxie 914.
So the pilot says he'll probably cancel the IFR flight plan while in the air. The plan is to just keep flying inland, then turn to the left to land. Runway 12 right is the landing runway because it's most favorable for a headwind this morning. If you check out the last video I posted, we landed on the same runway but in the opposite direction, and the process for canceling the IFR flight plan was the same. As a matter of fact, the controller sounds like the same controller who handled my flight last time. Now, our pilot is going to come back on the frequency, reporting that he has the airport in sight and canceling the IFR flight plan.
Moxie 914 has the airport in sight, canceling IFR.
Moxie 914, much appreciated. IFR cancellation received. You can keep the code and change advisory frequencies approved. Good night.
Good night, we'll see.
We're done with Palm Beach approach control. The next step is to check in on the common traffic advisory frequency, which replaces the controller who's gone home. Now, there's no traffic in the area. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. This airport can get really busy with general aviation and flight school traffic, but not now. Despite this, and even knowing that there's no one else on the common traffic advisory frequency, the pilot will always report his position. No one will respond, but it's procedure. He'll check in a few moments. We're looking south at Sebastian, Florida, which is just north of Vero Beach. Sebastian sits on the Intercoastal Waterway, and before we crossed the waterway, we flew over the Barrier Island. Since most of Florida's population is around the water, as we proceed inland, we'll see less and less. The good news, however, is that the flight attendants finally turned off the interior cabin lights. They were on for a really long time, but fortunately most of it happened over the water, and I happened to be on a side of the plane where I could not see the shoreline. It was off to our right. I'm doing my best to focus, but it's not easy. On Breeze A220s, despite turning off the interior cabin lights so people can see and walk around, there's always a dim blue light that illuminates the cabin, and that makes it a little hard to film out the window. Our pilot is now going to check in on the common traffic advisory frequency.
Vero Beach traffic, Moxie 914, Airbus 220 on a left downwind for runway 12 right, Vero Beach traffic.
Of course, no one will respond, but our position, a left downwind, has been reported. Down below, you can see cars moving on Interstate 95, and as I'd mentioned, Marino is located just west of I-95, and once we get to Marino, we'll turn to the left to the southwest, then further left to join the final approach course, so we can expect that left-hand turn real soon. We'll switch over to my dad's nicer cam on final approach, but for now, let's listen into some of the interesting sounds the A220-300 produces from way back here. I'll be back soon with the next transmission from our pilot. Those are some interesting sounds. Okay, we're 10 miles out, and it's now time for the pilot to check in with the next position report.
Vero Beach traffic, Moxie 914, Airbus 220, 10 miles, final for runway 12 right, Moxie 914, Airbus 220, 10 miles, final straight in 12 right, Vero Beach traffic.
Sorry about the blurriness. We've got 10 miles to go. In a few moments, you're about to hear some clicking sounds. You'll recall that when you heard the recording from the tower, the message said that pilot-operated runway lighting is available on the frequency. To turn the runway lights on so the pilot can see them, he clicks the mic button a few times in rapid succession. Listen to this. It would be awesome if we had a forward-facing view to see these lights go on, but we don't. This is a very unique feature and is common at airports where there's no control tower or when there's no one to turn the lights on and off. And in situations like ours where the tower is closed, it's up to the pilot to turn the lights on. There's really no point in keeping the lights on and wasting all the electricity if there are no planes coming in. The lights stay on for a while and will stay on until this flight ends. I'm pretty sure no one else needed to use them after us. We're back on the east side of I-95 and are on a heading of 118 degrees, approaching a fix on the final approach course called Muds. We'll cross Muds at 1,500 feet and continue on to the next fix called Zapes, which we'll cross at 500 feet. The pilot not only can follow the RNAV approach, but will also fly visually since he reported the airport in sight with the Palm Beach approach controller. The pilot is now going to check in on a 5-mile final.
Vero Beach traffic, Moxie 914, Airbus 220, 5-mile final, runway 12 right, Vero Beach traffic.
For the remainder of this video, I'm going to compare a nice seat with a nicer seat by letting you listen in to the engine sounds from each. That's my kind of criteria. We'll start off with nice first. I think they're both similar, but you decide. In any case, who cares about that extra legroom my dad has? I'll be back when we land.
Vero Beach traffic, Moxie 914, Airbus 220, 3-mile final, 12 right, Vero Beach traffic. Vero Beach traffic, Moxie 914 is clear of all runways, taxiing Charlie to the terminal, Vero Beach traffic.
Okay, we are on the ground, and the pilot let everyone on the frequency know that we're clear of all runways and are taxiing to the terminal. We crossed the runway upon landing, but there are no runway crossings on the way back to the terminal by using taxiway Charlie. Once we get to the terminal, we can be marshaled in and come to a stop. All right, it's 1:05 a.m. and we're here in Vero Beach. All right, time to get off the plane.
Well, it's almost 1:30 in the morning. We finally arrived in Vero Beach. It's a beautiful early morning here. Kind of humid, rained earlier, but waiting for our baggage now in the most unusual baggage claim area in the United States.
Yes, it's outdoor bag claim. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. The moral of the story is to show that with so much focus on class and hierarchical structures these days, just focus on enjoying the view from the window seat and enjoy your trip. It'll be worthwhile. And more worthwhile trips are to come on this channel, so if you haven't done so already, I invite you to click on the subscribe button below. See you all soon on a plane. Thanks for watching.